Good evening. This is Maestro with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 3v3 on Quest Redemption. A little unsure about that one, but anyway, we're going to start off with LordTensey playing as the Brother Captain, a tanky melee hero that walks through cover and cannot be suppressed for the Ordo Malleus. Gordian Vorenthul going to be playing one of his own Brother Captains, and finally it's going to be Nerdu, or maybe it's more like Nerdu, playing as the Techmarine, Space Marine ranged hero with a gun for every occasion and the ability to repair vehicles. Their opponents, we're going to begin with the Witcher, playing as the Forest Commander, tanky melee hero that buffs and disrupts with Battlecry. Overmind, playing as the Lord General, ranged commander with buffs and defense. And finally, Hutsy, going to be playing as the Demon Hunter of the Ordo Malleus. You hardly ever see this guy. Demon Hunter is a melee hero. I think he's supposed to be... He's actually so rare that I honestly don't know that much about him. I think he's supposed to kind of be in the vein of, it's like or commanders like the Sorcerer and the Inquisitor, where he's a little bit more focused on like control and spells. So we'll see how that works out for him. The Demon Hunter is just so incredibly rare, in part because he's honestly just not considered very good. So, like as I said, he's supposed to be more like maybe a Sorcerer or a Inquisitor type, and those are heroes that statistically are generally weaker than many other heroes as pure combatants because they rely so much on all the utility they provide. In this case, I guess the Demon Hunter's utility, possibly a little underwhelming. I've been told that he needs War Gears to be effective. His War Gears might be a little on the expensive side, and while I'm talking him down, he actually wipes out a Scout Squad, but we're also going to blame the micro. Anyway, on this side, we are going to see the Ordo Malleus definitely pushing back the Tactical Marines. Brother Captain will chase after those tacks, but I don't think there's too much of a chance that they will drop a model, but they're going to have to go pretty far back at this point. As we do see pretty small builds for many of our players. We see Gordian Vorenthul. He didn't get the second IST because he wanted the Strike Squad. There it is. That's going to be Banishment coming out of Gordian Vorenthul. With 2 Strike Squads, the idea is to use that ability twice. It's called Banishment. Functionally similar and visually similar to the Librarian's Smite ability. I think it does actually less damage than a Librarian's Smite, but it gets a little ridiculous when you have more than 1 Strike Squad and you're able to cast the ability more than one time. Certain squads really, really do not like that, such as Heretics and Tyranid squads. Tyranid Tier 1 squads. Alright, a little bit of a lull in the action, but we do have the Brother Captain going pretty far into base. Wow, he chased them all the way there just to make sure that he actually could get that tack model that I thought he wouldn't get. He wanted to prove me wrong that badly. Anyway, we also have double Strike Squad for Hutsy as well, so also potentially going for some of that Banishment shenanigans. No upgrades on this Demon Hunter. And now, again, the Demon Hunter is so rare that I don't know him as well as literally every other commander in the game. I tried my best to review all of his abilities in War Gears before this game started, but I'm probably not going to remember everything, and we're just going to have to try to rely on whenever a War Gear upgrade does come up for him, just actually reading the tooltip. We did see one use of an ability there, and one that I do know. That's the baseline ability of the Demon Hunter, the Rift Tear, and that will create an area that slows units, I believe, by 40%. The Demon Hunter does need to channel it, so that means that he can't move and can't attack himself while that ability is happening. Nevertheless, it looks like Hutsy is going to be forced off. We've got some support here from Overmind. We'll see if that's enough to win this fight. Meanwhile, talking about upgrades, we do have the Unending Purge coming out of Gordian Vorenthul. It is a sustained healing War Gear for the Brother Captain, where just as he attacks, he will heal 0.85% of his maximum health. Also passively increases his energy regeneration. This is also a War Gear that has been changed by quite a bit since the last time I had cast before this year. It used to be that the Unending Purge would grant, I believe, just increased health regeneration when you were below 50% health. So back then, that meant wouldn't exactly get much value when you weren't below 50% health. I think that was the threshold. So now it's kind of just more useful all around. Anyway, Sentinel moving up a little too brazenly. probably was looking for a stomp on this tack squad as well as the Techmarine, but the second tack squad moving in there put so much threat on it that Sentinel had to get out of there alive. Meanwhile, that strike squad will not get out of there alive. Tactical Marines also in quite a bit of trouble, but they at least get a retreat in time and with 2 models. So that's going to be another use of the Rift Tear, and we see again that the Inquisitor is not the Inquisitor, the Demon Hunter is immobile and not fighting when that happens. He kneels down, and that's kind of the channeling animation. All right, this is quite an area to be fighting over. I don't generally see many engagements happen over here because it's basically all the way on the edge of the map. Assault Marines will get their jump in. They will miss most of the Stormtroopers, and then we're just going to see a banishment deployed against them. If he can keep kiting, if LordTensey can keep kiting, I feel like this should be like a good engagement for him, but scouts are coming in here, and he doesn't keep kiting. Instead, he just retreats the Stormtroopers. So it will be a lost engagement for him. Looks like he replaced his ISTs as well. And with that one engagement, we are going to see the Witcher try to take this power node. Might even try to take it for his team. We also see another upgrade. Witcher going to have that power sword on his force commander. 50 power melee DPS, as well as the 15% damage bonus per attack on battle cry buffing. And of course, the big thing is just that power melee when you're facing off against another power armor race is going to be highly effective for the force commander. Otherwise, you don't always see the power sword. Definitely not the most common of his weapons. In fact, these days, I was almost venturing to say that I think it might be the least common of his weapons. I'm not so sure about that. I think there's actually a pretty good even... I think we actually see all of the Force Commander's weapons pretty evenly these days. All right, so some support coming in from this is Gordian Vorenthul. Will force a retreat from Overmind. And we're going to see some Tier 2 units starting to come out on the field. The Razorback is out here for Nerdu. And that Razorback, luckily for Nerdu, he's playing as the Techmarine, so it's not as pressing for him to need to replace his Scout Squad. Meanwhile, these Assault Marines in so much trouble. A big swing comes in from the Brother Captain, but I don't know if it'll be enough to finish off the whole squad. They were going for it. Goes down to about 19, 17 hit points. Wow, it's still losing health. But it finally does get out of there with 14. Now, with that push, though, this does mean the blue team will be retaking the contested victory point. Tactical Marines in quite a bit of trouble as they move back. This, in fact, all of these squads here for the Witcher are in trouble. The only one that might get out here without any consequence would be the Scouts, as they are infiltrating. The Tacks, in the long run, they can't win this fight. That single tack model goes down. Grenade will go in. Grenade goes in, lower down the cliff. Does certainly take the Stormtroopers pretty close to dying. But it's still definitely a one engagement for LordTensey and Gordian Vorenthul. Meanwhile, the strike squad right here for Hutsy moving in, dropping a model. And that model was also their Justicar. A little unfortunate. Justicar will increase the effectiveness of the banishment ability, as it says, strengthens with the presence of a Justicar. We've got a Silencer Purgation Squad right here, which to try to threaten the Razorback, put some pressure on it. Unfortunately, the Silencer will be tied up by the Brother Captain. Brother Captain actually drawing a lot of aggro right there, so this Razorback still getting plenty of value. We also see a Techmarine right here. There are different builds for the Techmarine, and this is basically what would be kind of your go-to for just maximum effectiveness against the power armor race, going for the plasma gun as well as the Signum armor. And then against Imperial Guard, it's highly effective against the Sentinel as well. The idea is you put mark target on whatever it is you want to kill. That increases the damage by 40%, which is an incredible number. And then you fire away with that overcharged plasma, which does a lot of damage even just by itself. Meanwhile, Double Strike Squad moving in, trying to support the Brother Captain. There's going to be the banishment. I think it was just one, but that will be enough to force the retreat from the Guardsmen. Missile Launcher Sentinel, meanwhile, I think it has moved back far enough that can actually start trying to shoot some of those missile volleys right there, but that's also going to be a Manticore Strike. That's a lot more threatening than the missile volley from the Sentinel. Nicely set up by the knockback. And then also just appropriately responded to by retreating in time to mitigate the damage that you would suffer from that Manticore strike. Meanwhile, these tactical marines as well as these scouts continue to work on this generator farm. As the ISTs, I always want to mix. This game, I'm mixing up the ISTs with the strike squad. IST, of course, standing for Inquisitorial Stormtrooper, the baseline unit of the Ordo Malleus. Heavy turret has been placed here. Unfortunately, this heavy turret can't quite see the range on that heavy turret. There were some times when it looked like it was trying to shoot at the strike squad that was on the point, but then didn't. So meanwhile, this Purgation squad right here trying to put some damage on this Razorback. Razorback does have the reinforced armor plating. And we're seeing, I think the Purgation squad is trying to play around, trying to get around the firing arc of the Purgation squad, but a second Purgation squad is here, and this does mean that the Razorback is in quite a lot of trouble. Seems to have trouble getting out of there. Does manage to get out of range of the back Purgation squad, and the front one will just be focused down and then eventually forced to retreat. So the Razorback is fine now. If we check back on over to this side, we are going to see just a strike squad in retreat. So at this time, we will see the Witcher pushing up. Going to look to... He certainly killed a lot of generators at this time. He's going to continue his generator push with this power farm right here. He's also got some upgrades. We've got a plasma gun on that tactical marine squad. The other squad does have the Stern Guard veteran upgrade. Stern Guard veterans, very useful for the variety of ammo types that they get. They have 4 different ammo types, although generally you mostly focus between 2 of them, which is Vengeance rounds and Hellfire rounds. Some people might want to argue the Kraken bolts, and technically if you want to be completely optimal, yes, you would. But it's usually easier to just go back and forth between Vengeance and Hellfire. At any rate, we're not even looking at Stern Guard veterans. We're looking at some smites, or rather some banishments going off on the Garrison. We're looking at these Purgation squads opening fire, and I believe that was also... Some things dying right here. Commander went down. That's the Demon Hunter going down. Manticore strikes going in, and retreat not being hit earlier means that strike squad took a lot more damage than it otherwise would have. However, it still has 3 models. We're going to see a Lord General with a Melt-A-Gun. And, yeah, okay, Razorback does finally move out of the way. That was cutting it a little close. Was a little bit slow to respond to that Lord General as well as the Sentinel. So luckily for him, he had the reinforced plating on the Razorback. There's going to be maybe another 2 hit points, and that Inquisitorial Stormtrooper squad will get out of there alive. So it's a double cap for the red team, 406 to 327 in their favor, as we now see many of our players moving into Tier 3. All of our blue team players in Tier 3, and a Tier 3 unit actually already here. We've got the Green Knight Terminators out of Gordian Vorenthul, as well as the Predator out from Nerdu. Now, Nerdu, he's been surviving with only the Techmarine so far to support his vehicles, and theoretically, he could continue to not get a Scout Squad because he is the Techmarine. He does have access to the Blessing of the Omnissiah Global. But that being said, at the moment, he only has enough red for 1 cast of it. So I think it might be prudent for him to get a replacement Scout Squad at this time. All right, I think I hear something. Yeah, Plasma Cannon Devastator shot winding up. It's also going to be a Manticore strike coming in, and that is going to be definitely that strike squad getting out of there. Another Plasma Cannon Devastator shot goes in, connects onto the Terminators, and I mean, it will do damage to them. Does knock them down even, but I think it would have... Okay, finally does also hit the strike squad as well. One of those strike squads nearly dead, and the Force Commander will finish it off. Force Commander still here, trying to do some damage to those Terminators. Meanwhile, these Terminators, I believe they teleported in here, and certainly they will slice up the Guardsman, but they are without a teleport for the moment, and there are certainly some other things here that can answer them. That was a squad wiped right there. I think that, yes, that was a grenade from the Scouts wiping an entire Inquisitorial Stormtrooper squad. Just barely caught it in the corner. Sentinel, what are you doing? Sentinel Stomp is actually highly effective against the Grey Knight Terminators. So Ooh. Here is an orbital. Let's see what got caught. It's going to be certainly the strike squad. And that also just instantly wipes out the heavy turret. Meanwhile, over here, the double vehicles out of Nerdu will be making short work of this generator farm as the tactical marines work on the power. Not the power, on the victory point. It's going to be some kind of visual effect right here. Oh, I see. That actually came from this. So this is, finally we do have an upgrade from the Demon Hunter. We're going to see the Empyrean Brain Mines. So those are those mines placed on the ground right there that the Tactical Marines did proc. Empyrean Brain Mines, they plant 4 deployable mines. I forget if it's actually 4 or 4 pairs. We're also going to see the Force Rod. So Force Rod grants an ability called Retribution, and it says the ability silences, damage, and knocks back. And just in case, for those of you who maybe not be so privy to, like, terminology coming from, like, MOBAs, silences means that units cannot use abilities. Technically, you could also see that from role-playing games where being silenced means you can't use magic. At any rate, the Lord General gets pretty low there, does need to retreat. And at the moment, who is he up against? He's Hutsy, so Hutsy, I don't know if what Hutsy has... Okay, if this Predator doesn't move, it's gonna die! Wow, the Predator just went down there like that. I'm honestly really, really surprised. It's a good thing I didn't say what I was about to say, otherwise it would have made me look really dumb, but... I will have a modification of it, which is, honestly, ideally, with no snare against the Predator ideally should not really be going down against these silencers. Now, it can't stand around too much longer because, as we see, the silencers do plenty of damage, but as long as they don't have a snare... Oh, no, don't lose another one. Oh, my... One hit point. Oh, my God. That was super lucky. Meanwhile, the Force Commander, not so lucky. That Force Commander, as much as power melee is good against super heavy infantry armor, the Force Commander just does not have the health to really stand up to the Paladins head-to-head in melee. He just can't really do it. He will eventually die. Meanwhile, the plasma cannon shot from that Devastator will just kind of be swallowed by the water. Another Manticore Strike goes in. Seems like it was fully dodged without even retreating, which is actually pretty nice. You get to keep your unit out on the field without actually taking any losses. Nevertheless, they will finally retreat because they don't have a whole lot in terms of models or health. Pretty low on health, missing 1 model. Another heavy turret? No! A Lehman Russ going to be airdropped from Overmind. And we see a Commander Revive attempt. Might pay for it with the life of his own commander. But the Lord General might just be lucky enough to get out alive. It's cutting it pretty close as we do see this Land Raider Crusader moving in. Land Raider Crusader has Hurricane Bolters on the side, Assault Cannon on top, as well as a Multi-Melta. A lot of anti-infantry damage coming out of this. Does also have some supporting effects as well. So blue team will be able to hold the... They'll get the contested victory point. Oh, looks like they might not get it. Manticore Strike will deter the Brother Captain for a moment. And the Lehman Russ will also make it so that Brother Captain really just... He can't finish this. Lehman Russ pushing forward, though. Kind of pushing its luck a little bit. He doesn't entirely know what's there, and he doesn't have much support for the Lehman Russ present either. Where are the Guardsmen? Looks like they're still in base. You know, a Plasma Devastator shot does hit the Strike Squad. And looks like another one will go in. Unfortunately, LordTensey not responding to this. That one completely misses. So it might just be attack ground from Witcher here. He might not have retargeted. Yeah, he's attacking ground, has not retargeted. Alright, the Assault Marines probably looking for a Melta on the Land Raider Crusader. But what is there in terms of anti-vehicle follow-up? Oh, I think that's going to be Assault Terminators. Yes, Assault Terminators called in right behind the Land Raider Crusader. This is now quite a lot of threat put on the Land Raider Crusader, but the Terminators themselves have a lot of threat put on them because we've got Grey Knight Terminators trying to rip them apart. We've got water effects splashing all over the place, and where is... Yes, the Melta The Melta Lord General should also be trying to contribute whatever damage he can. Manticore Strike goes in next to the side. I think the Manticore Strike should have actually gone in on the Land Raider Crusader. That being said, regardless, I think the Land Raider Crusader gets out of there alive. Lord General even suppressed there, and I think that was from the Hurricane Bolters of the Land Raider Crusader. Meanwhile, these Terminators now in quite a bit of trouble. Do they have a teleport? One Terminator model is already down. Another one is left so far behind enemy lines. I think this eventually the squad will be fine, but I think it will lose 2 models in the process. As this last one here, tanking a lot of damage, but just so far separated from the other squad member. Finally does go down. I saw the intention there, just trying to put the Melt-A-Bomb on the Land Raider Crusader, then calling in the Terminators, the Assault Terminators behind it. You're looking for a chance to put some heavy damage on the Crusader, but unfortunately it doesn't work. At least not in the sense of trying to get the kill on it. Paladin's now in a huge amount of trouble. Oh my god, all these Land Raiders. We have Land Raider Crusaders on both sides, got barely enough room on the camera to capture everything that's happening. As we do see the movement here from Nerdu, who's, I believe he was on the other side of the map, choosing not to fight on the right side. I mean, the blue team, they need the victory points. LordTensey has lost so many of his units, he barely has any army, but we might see a loss inflicted for the red team, the Witcher losing his Assault Marine squad. Yeah, so I think this makes a lot of sense. Doesn't look like Nerdu actually commit his whole army, but he's only committing some of it just in case. We might see the approach on the natural victory point of the blue team, but we're not. In fact, what is Hutsy doing here? I mean, these units, I guess they're just trying to also protect their own natural victory point from potential backups. But most of the fighting now has converged onto the contested victory point. Executioner Lehman Russ, we've seen that a bit around. Executioner Lehman Russ, quite versatile because it does do anti-all damage. It has Plasma Cannon damage type, which is probably just the best damage type in the game. No penalties against anything. Oh, that should be the end of the Crusader. I think one more Manticore Strike or shot from the Executioner Lehman Russ, and that will be it. Yeah, this Executioner Lehman Russ, it actually does plenty of damage to vehicles. It does great damage to heavy infantry and super heavy infantry. The major downside of the Executioner Lehman Russ is the short range. It only has a range of 38 units. By default, the Lehman Russ with its normal cannon has 44, and with the Vanquisher, it has 55. Predator, I believe, is also 44. All right, Stern Guard Veteran's going to move in with Vengeance rounds loaded. So Vengeance rounds are... It's interesting. Vengeance rounds are considered the anti-vehicle ammunition for the Stern Guard Veterans, but they're actually also quite good against both heavy infantry and super heavy infantry. In fact, they don't have Vengeance rounds don't have a penalty against either one of those. I believe they do full damage to heavy infantry and a little bit of a bonus against super heavy infantry. Anyway, Manticore Strike will go in, or will it? I feel like I didn't see missiles there. I don't know. Anyway, oh, we're seeing something coming in. That is definitely an ability from the Demon Hunter, going to be coming from this, the Armor of Damnation. So this Armor of Damnation, it looks like he can cast that from quite far back. Armor of Damnation improves Rift Tear into Tempest, which gains more potent effects the longer it is channeled. Oh. Lord General will go down there. Unfortunately, he just kind of went ahead, tanked all that damage, just taken down pretty much instantly. Conversion Beamer on the side of Hutsy to try to deal with these vehicles. Land Raider Crusader will also be coming out from Gordian Vorenthul as well, so we're going to have triple Land Raider Crusaders. All right, the blue team's moving up. Land Raiders, Terminators, everything. I think that's going to be another Tempest. Tempest out of the Demon Hunter. Certainly, the Tempest ability is certainly visually very impressive. Meanwhile, while I'm talking about that, a Razorback is going to go down. There will also be an orbital bombardment somewhere here. What will it actually catch in its path? It catches some Strike Squad models. It catches... No, it doesn't even catch the Brother Captain here. As we now see a Vanquisher Lehman Russ is trying to chase after the Predator. Scout Squad will also be going down here for the Witcher. Ooh, this Vanquish Leman Russ can finish off the Predator if it can just get one more shot off. It does have the range to do it. Not anymore. Predator does manage to escape. All right, then. This Land Raider Crusader moving forward here, I question that a little bit. There's a lot of... Oh, okay, yeah, the Land Raider Crusader here for LordTensey actually in quite a bit of trouble. We've got three main sources of anti-vehicle that are close to it. Both of the Leman Russes, the Conversion Beamer, and not much threat against those Leman Russes in return. Here's the second Land Raider, this one coming from Gordian Vorenthul. Technically the third, but the second one for the blue team. Unfortunately, our Ordo Malleus players have suffered a lot of squad losses. So has the Witcher, but it does feel like Hutsy and Overmind keeping more of their units. Still have some units here that are just purely idling, mostly just to protect this. I mean, this area is actually... Oh my god, look at how many mines are out here that Hutsy has set up. It's actually going to be pretty hard for the blue team to try to backcap this unless they just really commit hard to an offensive here. And at that point, it's not a backcap anymore. It's just it's just a push and then a cap. Meanwhile, the turret and the Predator... The Predator here... I honestly... Like, the turret is fine. I feel like this is actually a huge waste of a Predator to just be sitting here. I mean, yes, the turret could otherwise be, like, overtaken by itself, especially if something like a vehicle from the other team just moves on over here, but I feel like there's so much value the Predator could be getting over here if it actually participated in these fights. Although, we should point out that Nerdu has no shortage of Predators. He's got 3 now. I definitely think he should not just park 2 here. Like, a backcap can't take this, but it's just so... I feel like there's so much lost value by not having those Predators over here, taking shots at the Leman Russes, taking shots at the Land Raider Crusader. Well, for the moment, though, it is the blue team who have control of this. Red team, they need to make some kind of push. They need to move something up. Manticore Strike is a good way to open it up, and then once that Manticore Strike is in, yeah, they like go in now. 2 squads already forced off the field. That's like the best time that you're gonna get. All right, the Predators have been moved up, so we do have 2 Predators coming in here. We are gonna see some kind of backcap here, but at any rate, the double Predators moving up, unloading their las cannons on the Leman Russ. That's an execution of Leman Russ. Oh no, path blocked by friendly units. That will be a dead Leman Russ. More las cannon shots just dumping in their damage on that Vanquisher Leman Russ that's still here and still alive. The las cannon Predators just doing so much damage here. Unfortunately, the push from the red team is pretty much repelled. Oh no, a rocket run that pretty much completely misses everything. Super unfortunate for Overmind. I mean, they might have gotten a hit or 2 against the Land Raider Crusader. But I mean, otherwise, the rocket run is really primarily an anti-infantry nuke. It kind of lacks the raw power of many of the other nukes, but it does kind of make up with it in reliability. But, well, in that case, I would honestly say that was player error, where that rocket run did not really hit anything. Meanwhile, the red team managed to make a backcap happen here, and the Predator was even taken out. How is that Predator taken out? I mean, we do see Inquisitorial Operatives here. Inquisitorial Operatives do have, and they do have a Meltabomb, I believe. But I don't think they had enough damage. Like, I don't think they had a way to sustain that damage once the Meltabomb is used. I'm honestly not sure. Unfortunately, I was just so focused on this that I missed it. So blue team will take back their natural victory point. And Nerdu is just gonna keep up the keep the Manufactorum working. I pulled that out of like the last time I played a Dawn of War 2 single player. I'm pretty sure that's a word in 40K. Well, we certainly get some lulls in the action here. We'll quickly go around, see what upgrades we have. Brother Captain, Nemesis Force Halberd, that's just kind of maximum damage, good against power armor, splash damage. Holy Armor of Titan does grant invulnerability for short duration, I believe 6 seconds. Unending Purge, we've already talked about this one. Gordian Vorenthul with the exact same build. And decent reason why. Ne'er-do with that ranged focus with the plasma gun and the Signum armor, and then that refractor field. I'm not really feeling the refractor field in this case because you want to be using the abilities from the plasma gun and the Signum armor. I mean, I guess now that the Techmarine is level 5, he'll have some left over so that he can use the refractor field. So actually, it isn't too bad. But it's definitely not the maximum value out of the refractor field. Manticore Strike goes in, does some damage to the Land Raider Crusader, and that damage is not insignificant. Meanwhile, you are going to have... That's interesting. Hutsy trying to make some plays over here. That is the Tempest ability. Inquisitorial Operatives going in for a back cap. So that means the Demon Hunter is over here. So incredibly long range on that Tempest ability, as we can see. Force Commander only with an upgraded weapon, switched out the Power Sword for the Power Fist, which does make a lot of sense when you're dealing with these vehicles like these Land Raider Crusaders. You hit a Flesh Over Steel on one of those Land Raider Crusaders, and then you shut it down for a decent amount of time. All right, big fight now happening here. The Last Cannon Predators moving back in again, and they're just absolutely terrorizing this Vanquisher Leman Russ, especially once the Vanquisher Leman Russ exposes rear armor, tries to get away, but finds itself just driving into friendly units and being path blocked. Rather unfortunate for Overmind. So blue team once again control the victory points as these double las cannon predators unloading on the tactical marines. Those tactical marines, I don't know if they get out of there alive. In fact, they don't. If you're retreating through paladins and terminators, that's a real bad time. Terminators themselves in a bit of trouble. Terminator's going to be focused on by the other Terminators, the Grey Knight Terminators. We're going to see Holy Ground used from the Paladins to try to speed up the units so that they can continue to catch up to the Terminators. Terminators, I think, need to see if they can get inside the Land Raider, but I don't think it's going to happen. They're trying to reinforce, but eventually that squad of Terminators does go down for Witcher. Blue team just pushing in here. The double las cannon predators, just so much anti-vehicle damage. All right, we are going to see an orbital bombardment. Orbital bombardment. Looks like it does catch the Paladins, and the Paladins actually will go down for Gordian Vorenthul. Or will they? No, those. Yeah, these are LordTensey's Paladins. Gordian Vorenthul's Paladins are actually gone. All right, it's starting to look rougher and rougher for the red team. This double Land Raider Crusader proven to be quite strong. I mean, we've only got one Land Raider Crusader on the other side, so, you know, 2 is better than 1. We also have a Dreadnought out here for Gordian Vorenthul. It's kind of interesting to see the late game Grey Knight Dreadnought, a tier 3 Grey Knight Dreadnought, but I think with the Plasma Cannon, I think there's a pretty decent argument for it. I think it could actually be reasonably effective in tier 3. Techmarine nearly going down here. And we've got one Predator that's super low because he's trying to see if he can finish off the Land Raider Crusader. It's pretty close. Land Raider Crusader. It would still take 3 more shots. And unfortunately for him, he lost one of the Predators trying to go for the remaining shots on that Land Raider Crusader. Another Leman Russ will be called in for Overmind. He's got pretty much all vehicles at this point, aside from just the Lord General. He's going to need a new guard squad. And here we see kind of the argument against the Dreadnought. It's slow, and if it finds itself in a situation where it's trying to run away from tanks, it can't run away. At any rate, here are some Inquisitorial Operatives looking for another back cap. Oh my, they're gonna die! They don't even finish the cap! Ooh, just desperation out of the red team. But I think this might be it for them. They're getting pretty low on units. They just have not been able to break this line. And by line, I mean double Land Raider Crusader. All right, another Tempest will go in, as well as a Manticore Strike. Manticore Strike goes in, trying to target the Land Raider Crusader. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough, though. Meanwhile, this area, yeah, the blue team, I don't think they've even made much of an effort to try to capture this part of the map. And at the moment, they don't need to. In fact, I think time is so short that I think Hutsy should actually just like recommit all of his forces now to helping out in the mid, or the other players need to commit to taking the blue team's natural. And whatever it is, they don't have much time. In fact, they're nearly out of time. They're very close to just like already losing the game. All right, I think at this point it actually is too late. I think the blue team do take this. Terminators teleport in, but yeah, they'll just slice up those Devastator Marines. The Leman Russes, oh man, the Leman Russes from Overmind, unfortunately, not quite working out as well as he had hoped. Probably, they have the Vanquisher has longer range than the Lascannon Predators, but the Lascannon Predators just do a lot more damage. All right, that will be it. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.